Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
It's
brother. Good afternoon, brother.
Busoyi. Yeah, I'm man. Yeah, I can so.
I can see. Yeah,
Okay, was when I
so
saw.
killer you.
Okay, what is it?
Killer you row.
Nígbà tí mo rí tí ọ̀bọ̀bọ̀ yẹn àbí aláàfin yẹn ta sí ọ̀fin, I just saw the message yesterday. I was like,
Ẹ má pe Aláàfin
ọ̀fin
bọ̀bọ̀.
aláàfin. I've known Ọọni of Ife to be one of the greatest Oba in Yoruba land. Ikeji Òrìṣà. They call him Ikeji Òrìṣà.
No.
And maybe they should usually call Ikeji Òrìṣà then.
No. Hold on, please. Hold on.
Okay.
The Ọọni is never called the Ikeji Òrìṣà. That's the Aláàfin.
Is Aláàfin is Ikeji Òrìṣà?
Aláàfin is Ikeji Òrìṣà. All kings in Yoruba land are considered Ikeji. Aláṣẹ Ikeji Òrìṣà.
Okay.
The Ọọni is not Aláṣẹ Ikeji Òrìṣà. The Ọọni is Òrìṣà.
Is Òrìṣà, okay.
That's why we call him Ọọni Risha.
Okay.
He's a deity. He is not second in command to the gods. He's a god.
He's a deity on his own. He's a god on his own. Okay. So that means he's the paramount ruler in Yoruba land there. But I really want to know. I didn't really
So we also have to be very careful with the terms. Sorry, can you please mute, because there's feedback coming from you. So it's not about paramountcy, like say who is the paramount king of Yoruba land. It's not about that. It's not about that. And it may not even be the right question. So you would have a paramount king of Ijebu land. Who will be the Ojale? Okay. You have the paramount king of Ijesha land. Who will be the Owa? You have the paramount king of Remo. Who will be the Akaribo? You have paramount king of the subgroups. Yoruba is big, so we have paramount king. Our relationship, or the relationship of every Yoruba to Ife, is not about paramountcy, it's about origin.
Oh, okay.
And because that throne is the first that all of us have derived our authority from,
okay.
It's not about, we don't even use king when you're talking about him. He's essentially his father.
Okay.
Now, to some kings, he's not father, he's their grandfather. To some, he's their great-grandfather, I should say. Okay. So the relationship is, the reason they call it a sacred city, apart from the fact that there's a religious part to it, is also about war, ibi or war. Even the name Ọọni is a short form of Ọọni or Ọọni. It's about reverence.
Okay.
And because of that, Yoruba people will not even ask you who is the greatest of their kings. That's the point. Because their king's authority is literally from Ife.
Okay.
Therefore, they don't have to ask the question, who is greater? Like, okay, if my power derives from another, it's not about, it's like asking me who is greater between me and God. I'm just using it as an example. Who is greater between me and God? As a person of faith, that would be a ridiculous question.
God.
Because my breath is literally from him. If he takes it away, I'm gone. So I don't even have to say, I can't even be doing the comparison of Emi Atolo and Taloju. It's the same thing with, you see, the way we're going to have we're going to have sessions on this Ife and Yoruba thing once we're done with all this constitutional stuff. The way Yoruba look at Ife, it's so deep that they felt that, this is what they believe, that heaven or is in Ife. And that if a person dies, he has to go through Ife to go to the other side, to go to the other world, or the other side, or the spirit realm. And it was a common thing that you hear about from people, for instance, when they say things like, I want to I want Ife. That person in your conku your combat lekiti. On wa lo se Ife lo raja, won taja. Wọ́n lọ kó àwọn rí tó má pàdé náà pé àwọn rí èèyàn báyìí ń bẹ̀. Ipò wọn rí ń bẹ̀ yẹn is flex. It's a place where you don't even bother comparing. Let me say something. At the worst of Ife, when what was not supposed to happen happened, which was Ogun, nobody used to touch Ife. You can do whatever you are doing, but nobody went to Ife. But when the worst happened in Ife, the British went to the Aláàfin, and the Aláàfin, I read this 2 days ago. You find it in a book by A History of the Yoruba People by Stephen Adebanji Akintoye. The Ile-Ife told the white people that, listen, that city they are our fathers. That's what they said. That's what he said. You know what? And I've, because some people might watch this and not watch the other video. So if you guys don't mind, I would like to quickly find that page and read it to you. The reason, one of the reasons I'm also very careful of this thing is not that, is because you also want to know, it's important to ask, when did this thing start? If everybody was thinking like this, then maybe we'll say, we have to be. When people just started rewriting history in 1980, where can go for the book is A History of the Yoruba People by Stephen Adebanji Akintoye. Let me read to you what Ile-Ife told Higgins. Higgins was a colonial officer, was a commissioner, was sent by Lagos government. This was in October of 1886. This was 100 years before the story changed. 100 years before the story changed. It says here, the Ile-Ife wished the Ife to return to their homes as they were the fathers of all. Okay, I'm reading another book now. I'm reading The Cradle of a Race, Ife, from the beginning to 1980. That's by Adem Makinwa. I'll read the one from the other book very soon as well. So it says, the Ile-Ife wished the Ifes to return to their homes as they were the fathers of all, and all people came from Ife, and he did not wish the palace left desolate, but would order their houses to be rebuilt for them and give them all they wanted. And the Ife tried to use their well-known position to secure a favorable term. Mumbo, I want to read from the other book. Okay, I found it. This is the Ile-Ife in 1886. So let me go back in. Okay. In 1886, British agents visiting the Yoruba interior were told by the Ile-Ife of Oyo that the Ifes were the fathers of all, and all people who came from Ife. I read the same thing from the other book. Then it says the chiefs of Ife were at Isoya, where they and their people were camped outside the ruins of their city. So that's the worst that happened to Ife. There was a war that sacked Ife. And even in that condition, that terrible, I watched the video, somebody sent it to me, where one Oba was using that to insult Ọọni, and said there's a time they had war and they were in Isoya, and so it's not like we just don't want to talk about it. See, me, I like history. I will talk about it. We were sacked. If I was sacked, there was, we're going to have a session on it. Everything was terrible. But even in that terrible condition, where people were living in camps outside the town, the Ile-Ife was still telling the Oyinbo that these guys are the fathers of all. And let me read what it says. It says here that they lived outside the ruins of their city, but then they were the fathers of all tribes, and if they continued longer in a camp and unable to resettle the ancient city of Ile-Ife, the whole world would spoil, as they were the priests of the deities who rule the world. That's Ife at its worst. Like everything was scattered. Even at its worst, this should not have happened. Why did it happen? We'll talk about it another time. But even at its worst, the Ile-Ife is saying they are the fathers of all, and if they don't fix that city, the whole world will spoil. My question is this: if the Ile-Ife is saying this about Ife at its worst, what would he have said at its best? Think about that for a minute. And if one day we'll do Yoruba history, all this Isoya thing. I was disappointed in the person who was talking in the video. And you know him. I'm not going to mention him. He's a king. But I'm not going to mention his name because out of respect. So they were in Isoya. I was like, you are talking. You were sacked by Nupe. You were removed from town for 70 years by Nupe. You were moved by Fulani, not once. You were relocated several times. And you are trying to take a dig at it, saying, Ogun, Ojagu, they were living in a camp. The point is that in that situation that was really terrible, even people couldn't get themselves to the point where they would disrespect their homeland. Because this is how Yoruba people think. To speak ill of Ife or the throne of the Ọọni is to disrespect your own heritage. And that's why I said yesterday, if a king asks that who is higher between him and Ọọni, is an insult to him, not the Ọọni. It's like you and your grandfather saying who is better between me and my grandfather. It means that you are not a legitimate child. You don't ask that kind of question. Èmi àti bàbá mi ta lójú. Sori o bá ara bàálù kó rọkọ̀ òfurufú kó lówó ju gbogbo àwọn tó ṣáájú ẹ̀ lọ kò lè jáde lẹ́nu ẹni ọkọ ti máa jáde. Àpé ní ìran wa gbogbo àwọn bàbá mi orí burúkú ni wọn èmi kan mo ṣolóríire tó bá sọ ó ti pèrè lórí burúkú ó ti pèrè ní olórí burúkú nìyẹn regardless of what you have in your bank account. This is culture. Culture is not just about káwọ kìíní kan ká máa jà ìṣàmà àgbádá àbá máa jẹba. It's deeper than that. There are things you don't say. Ta lójú ní mi àti bàbá mi àbí àti bàbá mi. Ọjọ́ náà máa pè yẹn dé pé wọ́n á pè yẹ ẹjọ́ ń tọrọ náà bọ́lẹ̀ tí rédíò èyí wa ẹ má bínú ẹ̀yin ìyá wa bọ̀kọ́ tó máa bèrè náà kọ́ ẹ̀ pé bóyá wọ́n gbé wọlé láti ibì kan ni Ọlọ́run ṣàánú wa ńlẹ̀ Yorùbá. But I hope we got the point, right? Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá dá ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ò ní bàjẹ́ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tó yẹ ká túnṣe náà. So ẹ̀yin tí mo sọ níjẹta pẹ̀lẹ́pẹ̀tẹ̀ tá a bá lọ́ọ̀dì pọ̀pà ni tó bá tàbà kó mọ̀ bẹ̀ kó tún bẹ̀ ṣe. So kì í ṣe láti bá àyàn kankan yọ̀ǹtì àbí nǹkan kan ó kàn jẹ́ pé these things must be said. These things must be said. And if I can say it for Benin, I definitely can say it about Oyo. It is not right. And I'll tell you this, it is good. There's going to be consequences. And the primary consequence is the disrespect that will come from lower kings. And I use the word lower, not out of disrespect, but in terms of, in comparison, those who are not as powerful or who were not as powerful in the days of the empire, which is even gone. Meanwhile, this empire nonsense, do you see Italy shouting that they had Roman Empire? Who is the father of Oromio? Ogun? Fresh delight, yes, it's Ogun. Ogun is Oromio's father, and Ogun is Oduduwa's son. I hope we answered that question. Thank you very much. I was trying to, so I got this book. What's the title of the book again? The Anabasis of Alexander. It was written in the 1800s. It's the history of Alexander the Great and his conquest of the world. And so sometimes visual also helps. So myself and my kids were watching the documentary. So I was talking, and I got the book. So I was reading the book. So I was like, what you are watching is inside this book. And I don't know if you've ever studied Alexander's empire. I don't know if you've studied, that took over after the Persian Empire. Do you see Greeks talking? Alexander had cities. Everywhere you go in the world, when you hear the word Alexandria, it is named for Alexander or after Alexander. As he was 20 years old when he became king, and for 10 years he conquered almost the then known world. So he went all the way from Macedonia, conquered the Greek city-states, Thebes, Athens, part of Sparta, although it didn't completely fall until much later, moved out of there and then got into Persia and just moved all the way to Afghanistan, presently Afghanistan, Pakistan, and parts of India. There's a city in Egypt called Alexandria. There's a city in Afghanistan with that same name, Alexandria. There's another one close to the end of the world at that time that they built there. The point is that you see Greeks today shouting, oh, we did something. They did it all. Iye ni wípé káwa máa sọ pé wọ́n kọ́ ìlú kan sí Egypt, wọ́n pè ní Alexandria. If you read the Bible, you must have heard when the Bible was talking about Apollos, that he was from Alexandria in Egypt. He was a Jew that was born in Egypt. And he was born in the city that Alexander the Great had founded in the about 330 BC, thereabout. Alexander lived before Jesus, before Christ. The point I'm trying to make is that people have to also be calm. If you don't have anything of worth to hold on to, you'll be using your past to get yourself in trouble. That's why every time I tell you about the greatness of Yoruba and what we did thousands of years ago, I always add that these things should spur us into doing better, not just to be glorifying in because I get time before, no property. If it was an empire for 400 years, but there has to be something more than that. E.g., Olojo Festival, as small as that thing is, not even small, as is a major festival. There are many festivals in Ife. There's AD, there's all kinds of things. But that Olojo Festival, as small as it is, it changes the dynamics. You can use that to even teach, even with, it's not that you can use it. We use that to teach the history of Ife. There's tourism in it. There's religion in it. There's all kinds of things inside it. So you're just saying that, something happened 1,000 years ago. You're also trying to harness, whatever it is that you have now, in order to maintain greatness, to even go, surpass what you had in the past. Empire, because that empire fell. That empire was reduced. Reduced. But we are proud of that empire when it reigned, when it was the reigning thing. We are proud of the empire. We're also proud of whether you're an empire or you're not an empire. We're proud of every Yoruba town. At Oshogbo ni o, at Ede, at Ikire, at Akpomu, at Egba, at Eko, at Ijumu, at Kaba, gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá pátápátá, at Akoko, at Ikare. Everybody, Ekiti, everybody means something, right? And that's why we must celebrate our togetherness and our unity. All right, having said that, let's get to the topic.